Hey, Vision Chasers, Dr. Byrd here. And today I wanted to talk about current events. Obviously, right now there is a war taking place that affects a lot of people and it's affecting a lot of countries. And it's really bad news. And I wanted to take a moment to put together a little presentation to give you some information to help start your own research if you wanted to know a little bit more about what's going on. And as I took in some of the news, I definitely, as a U.S. history teacher, I thought about the past. I thought about the past and some of the kind of the similarities between the events leading up to World War II and what's taking place now. And definitely you have people who've talked about potential nuclear war, World War III and things like that. And, you know, we pray that things don't come to that. And so definitely we pray for peace, pray for a resolution. And as I film this now, the leaders of the two countries, Russia and Ukraine, they're sitting down, they're having a meeting, and hopefully a peaceful outcome will be the result. So I wanted to share with you this presentation I had on the similarities and some of the differences. And so with that being said, let's get started. I hope that this is very informational for you and it encourages you to go out and do some research of your own. So let's start here with the leaders of the two countries that we're talking about. On the left, you see the President Vladimir Putin. That's the leader of Russia. It's the leader of Russia. And on the right, you have the leader of Ukraine. The leader of Ukraine, you have Volodymyr Zelensky. That is his name. And Russia, in this case, Russia has invaded Ukraine again. Russia has invaded Ukraine again. And so let me show you what I'm talking about when I say Russia has invaded Ukraine again. If you look at this map here, The orange obviously is Ukraine. The orange is Ukraine, and the gray area to the east of Ukraine, that's Russia. That's Russia. And when I talk about, again, notice Crimea, that part to the south of Ukraine, that piece of land used to belong to Ukraine. But in 2014, it was taken over by Russia. And a lot of people were not happy about that. A lot of countries were not happy about that. And, you know, things didn't escalate to where they are now in terms of other countries' response, but other countries were not happy about that. They thought that was unlawful for Russia to do that. So going back to this map, you see that Ukraine is in orange, Russia is in gray, but notice the lighter orange colored spots on that map that are part of Ukraine. Now, what I want you to know about these areas, they have a lot of people who are Russian, and many of them, a majority of them, are loyal to Russia. They support Russia. They want Russia. They want what's happening now. They want Crimea to. They want the Ukraine, to be a part of Russia, and under Russian control. And so you have a lot of people who actually helped with this, with this invasion. And so there are definitely some similarities, and though, as you see, those two areas are Donetsk and Luhansk. And so again, you have a lot of people who are loyal to Russia in those areas. Now, that's very important to keep in mind, that we have people who are loyal to Russia in those areas, because if you recall, or maybe you don't know, that when this really first started, Vladimir Putin said, hey, we're just going to go in and keep the peace and support these people who support Russia. We're just going to protect them. And obviously, you know, as time went on, we realized that that's not exactly true, because the Russian forces, they continued to move even past those two areas to the west towards the capital city of Kiev, to the northwest there, you see there, and as indicated on the map. So let's go back in time. I want to go back in time a little bit. This is before World War II. There are definitely some similarities, and we should pay attention to those things. As I set my watch to leave me alone because I'm teaching right now. So here we have a map of Germany. Let's go back in time. We're going back in time, 1938. So we have Germany here, and then to the southeast of Germany, we have a land called Czechoslovakia. That's a country. And then as you see, there's a lighter color within Czechoslovakia. That piece of Czechoslovakia is called the Sudetenland. The Sudetenland. Now, in 1938, there was a lot of conversation about this area. Hitler at the time was the leader of Germany, and he wanted this area. He wanted the Sudetenland. And the Sudetenland, which was part of Czechoslovakia, a different country, in the Sudetenland, there were people who were loyal to Hitler. There's a lot of majority German people who were loyal to Germany. They were loyal to Hitler. They didn't have a problem with Hitler and the Nazis coming in to take control of that area. Now, let's keep going here and look at some of the things that were happening at this time in September of 1938. You see here this headline: Czech forces are mobilized. So Czechoslovakia, they weren't going to take this line down. They were going to try their very best to put up a fight and protect their country. But at the bottom, you see there, you have Hitler's army on Czech border. And it's really interesting, because this thing that's happening now between Russia and Ukraine, the issue was that the alarm bells went off because Russia had a lot of troops on the border between Russia and Ukraine. There were, you know, intelligence was saying, hey, this is going to happen. Russia is going to take over Ukraine. Like weeks, months, there was intelligence telling everyone that this was going to happen. And so you see there, Hitler, you know, when you're preparing to take over a country, you want to have your troops on the border ready to go so that they can do what they're trying to do quickly and with efficiency. So here we go. Also, you'll notice here in this newspaper here, talks about how Hitler demands right and talk with Chamberlain to march into Sudetenland. Hitler is demanding this to happen. Now, here's a little background on this. You know, Czechoslovakia, smaller country, and they're committed, their leaders committed to doing whatever is possible in order to hold on to their country, to their freedom, to their independence. And what ends up happening is we have leaders of other countries, not Czechoslovakia, meeting with Hitler to decide the fate of the Sudetenland in Czechoslovakia. And one of those leaders that you see in this picture, you have Hitler in the middle, is that person to the far left. We have Neville Chamberlain, and he is a prime minister of England at the time. The prime minister of England at the time. And his goal was to meet. He met with Hitler to try to figure this thing out, because they didn't want any further escalation. And so ultimately what happens as a result of this meeting is appeasement. So Hitler is given what he wants in hopes of stopping him from further escalating and taking other land in Europe. And once again, that's Neville Chamberlain on the far left looking at the camera there. And unfortunately, we're going to find out what happens as a result of that. So things are different today in terms of Ukraine and Russia, and in terms of the other countries' reaction to Russia. They disagree with what Russia is doing. They disagree with Putin, and they have, in their own way, they have issued consequences to Putin to try to get him to stop. These other countries they're doing their very best to support Ukraine and support Ukraine's independence, and they're not having meetings with Putin to eventually just give him what they want. And the people of Ukraine, they are standing up and they are fighting, and so is a leader. He's become a worldwide hero because of his insistence on staying in Ukraine and arming himself and asking other citizens to take up arms to defend their country. They're not going to lie down and give in to Putin and his military forces. So here we go. We have Hitler tours Sudetenland in triumph. Hitler tours Sudetenland in triumph. As you can see there, it seems like many people are happy as the Nazis come in to assume control. So this is in October of 1938, early October. Hitler takes over the Sudetenland, that small piece of Czechoslovakia. And as you can see, like I said before, there's a number of people who have no problem with Hitler taking over that piece of land. There's a huge parade as Hitler and the Nazis, they came in and took control of this area. Now, what ends up happening as a result is the president Benez, he ends up having to resign his post because he realizes that, well, you know, our freedom, our independence it's over now, because we are under the rule of Hitler and the Nazis. And what happens next? Well, here's what happens. Here you see Neville Chamberlain, and after this meeting with Hitler, he comes home to England. There is this huge reception for him as he gets off the plane, and he declares, you know, we've got peace. Everything is over. Hitler's got the Sudetenland. Everything is going to be fine. We're safe. We're not going to have to go to war. Everything is good. We've given away this piece of this country, and this country didn't have very much of a say, but everything is okay now. We've appeased Hitler. We've given him what he wants, and everything is fine. So what's the rest of the story? Well, you know the rest of the story. Eventually, Hitler goes back on his word, and the next year in March, he ends up taking the rest of Czechoslovakia. And a lot of people are not happy about that. A lot of people are not happy about that. And as you can see here in this, on this front page, it says Chamberlain has bitter regrets. Chamberlain has bitter regrets. I'll bet he does. I'll bet he does. And so he really, truly, genuinely felt, hey, we've got this thing figured out. And, you know, now, as a few months later, he has bitter regrets. And then continuing on, Czechoslovakia is no more. Czechoslovakia is no more. And as you can see there in this headline, in this front page of this newspaper, they're acknowledging that, you know, Hitler has a lot of power in Europe. He's taken over a lot. So what happens next? What's the rest of the story? Well, eventually Hitler is going to continue conquering land, and then he's going to attack Poland, which is going to trigger World War II. And that's going to pull in a number of countries. It's going to be a fierce battle. And because of World War II and how just terrible it was, that's why today we have these alliances. And these alliances are meant to keep the peace. They're meant to keep a potential World War III from ever happening. And they're working on it. And again, we pray that they're successful. We want them to be successful. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. There's just a little bit of information about what's going on today and some of the similarities and differences between now and the things that happened before World War II. Again, I definitely hope that, peace can prevail, and I don't want people to live in fear, and I don't like that innocent people are being hurt and people are losing their lives. So I just hope, and I know that you do as well, that a peaceful outcome can be achieved. So I hope that this encourages you to go do your own research, look into it a little bit further, and if you are willing to do that, then hey, I've done my job. If you just look up one source, read one article about what's going on now or what happened leading up to World War II, then I've done my job here. Well, Vision Chasers, I thank you so much for taking the time to watch. And until we meet again, please keep chasing the vision.